Well, okay, good afternoon. After lunch. My name is Enrique. I'm working in collaboration with the IFAPA Center in the control and automation field. My work here is to develop mathematical models of the raceway reactor to analyze the microalgae growth kinetics and the influence of different kind of organisms, and also the evolution of the nutrients inside the reactors. So first of all, why a mathematical modeling? Or why can we use the mathematical modeling for the raceway reactor? So this type of models, and as they are some equation and variables that relates the dynamics of a project, of a system, so we can understand how it works. In microalgae, and how we can use this type of model for better understanding the system, for simplifying the description of the living organisms that are difficult to model, and also to perform some simulation when the conditions are not the same as we have in the plant, and to try to optimize the variable of the process, and to try to perform automatic control. Because I don't know if some of you work with a reactor, small, big, or at a laboratory scale, but I have seen that in a lot of places they do not make some control of maybe pH, dissolved oxygen. They leave the system to evolve freely. But well, it can be worse for production or for maximize the growth of microalgae. And this type of model for how we can use them. Okay, we have some different problems. For example, if I want to make or start a company of microalgae production here in Almeria, or in Madrid, or maybe outside of Spain, well, it is worth it. How is the weather there? How much I can produce? Well, some of that question can be solved with the models, with different models that we have developed here, like the thermal model, the growth rate model, all the complete engineering model that we will see. And now this, I think, more of you are used to this type of equation or the growth dynamic, but microalgae are fast growth organisms that perform the photosynthesis, consuming carbon dioxide and nutrients to produce oxygen. The overall growth or description of microalgae is this equation that depends on the specific growth rate of microalgae, that is a function of different type of variables, like solar radiation, the concentration of the nutrients inside the reactor, nitrogen, phosphorus, oxygen, the pH, and also the evolution of the nutrients inside the reactor depend on microalgae growth, microalgae or the other type of organism present in the reactor. So we have a description of the evolution of microalgae, but also a parameter that is a function, it's variable, depending on the conditions. Here in IFAPA, how works the production process of microalgae? Well, we use the more or less a lot of raceway reactors that has a pH and dissolved oxygen control. Microalgae perform photosynthesis, so start to consume carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. That can be harmful if we leave the system free to evolve freely, because oxygen accumulates in the reactor, and if the dissolved oxygen value reaches a high point, the photosynthesis stops. So we need to decrease the dissolved oxygen inside the reactor. How can we make that? With the dissolved oxygen control, we inject the air in the sun to dissolve all the oxygen inside the reactor. And also, the other type of control is the pH control. The photosynthesis of microalgae increase pH because they start to consume the carbon dioxide. So pH start to rise until a point that can be also harmful to microalgae. So to avoid that situation, we bubble carbon dioxide in the sun to keep the concentration of total carbon in the reactor in a good range. After or every day, we add the water with a nutrient to the reactor. If we are using just the clean reactor, if we are using the wastewater treatment reactor, we add some wastewater from the university. And also, every day we harvest the biomass, more or less 20% of the total volume of the reactor, to afterward process all that biomass. So, what we want to model? All that description of the process is composed of a different dynamics and model. So we can say that the overall complete microalgae simulation model is made of 3 submodels. The thermal model that estimates the temperature inside the reactor depending on the outside condition. The biological model that takes the specific parameters of the strain to estimate the growth rate, and the engineering model that is the mass balance of all the elements inside the reactors. The thermal model. Well, as I say, temperature inside the reactor depends on multitude of measures of outside condition. That as wind speed, ambient temperature, the soil temperature. This is very important because there are a lot of losses to the soil, relative humidity, and also the culture depth inside the reactor affect temperature. So the overall description is this equation that depends on all the terms related to the outside condition. I don't want to bore you with all the equation, but just to know that now we are working with a model inside the greenhouse, and we have noticed that if we want to keep the temperature constant inside the reactor, we need to solve the problem with conduction to the ground and also the evaporation rate. If we start to, for example, if we want to grow microalgae in winter and strain has an optimum temperature of 25 degrees, it's very difficult to keep that temperature. So we need to increase the temperature inside the reactor, but if we increase the temperature and the outside its color, it starts to evaporate a lot. So we need to also deal with a way to decrease all the losses. This is a graph of the validation of the thermal model that we performed for different months. And for winter, it's not perfect, but more or less for summer, it's very good. This model that is a part of the overall model can we use it on some way to get some information, some useful information? Yes. MicroJ has a different range of MicroJ strain, has a different temperature condition parameters. For example, spirulina has a range of temperature very high to grow, but others, like Nanochloropsis oceanica, his optimum temperature is lower. So we use the model, the thermal model, to estimate the temperature over different places and different kind of strain. We take the specific parameters of different MicroJ strain and apply the thermal model with the weather here in Almeria to try to analyze if we can grow the strain here. In summer, there are a lot that perform very well, except Nanochloropsis oceanica, that the model say that it will die due to the temperature here in Almeria. But on the other side, during winter, that strain seems to be the most productive one to grow here. So with this type of model, we can make an idea of which strain can be grown here in different seasons. And also the depth affect a lot to the production. Why race-wheel reactor are operated around 15 centimeters, or why the thin layer ones operate maybe at 1 centimeter and are more has a higher production? Okay, with this model, we can estimate that with thin layer reactors, the production is very high due to the solar radiation, but also temperature is also very high. So if we try to grow a MicroJ that it's not going to keep on that temperature, we can lose the culture. So it's very important to analyze the temperature depending on the culture depth. Now the biological model is the description of the specific growth rate. I think more you, if you are from the biologist field, are familiar with this type of models, the Monod equation. It's the description of how the MicroJ growth depending on solar radiation and other variables like temperature, pH, and dissolved oxygen. Why it's important to analyze all the variables? Because if we use the solar radiation as a growth function, we are not taking into account the real condition of the reactor. So this model is like a growth depending on solar radiation, but also ponderized with normalized values of the different variables. For example, the dissolved oxygen. As we said, if we leave the reactor to evolve freely without inject air, the dissolved oxygen start to increase until a point that we stop MicroJ production. So this graph is the function relating how MicroJ growth depending on dissolved oxygen. The same as pH. We have a pH range with a minimum and maximum values and an optimum value. It's very important to analyze MicroJ specific parameters to use the model and try to estimate all that evolution. And temperature is more or less similar to pH, with a minimum, maximum, and optimum value. These three influence variables are described with a cardinal model and an inverse model that can be applied to this subpart of the overall model. I was talking about microalgae, but what if we have a wastewater treatment reactor? With wastewater, we are in a system that it's not just microalgae and also the pH and the dissolved oxygen. No, we are now having bacteria, heterotrophic and nitrifying, and also they are in a kind of relation that heterotrophic bacteria consumes the COD to produce also another compounds, nutrients that can be consumed with bacteria and with defined bacteria and microalgae. Also the oxygen. Okay, microalgae with the photosynthesis produce oxygen, but during the night they perform the inverse process. They consume oxygen, but also bacteria consume oxygen. So we need to keep a balance to not go into an anoxic condition. So if we want to model the wastewater treatment reactor, we need to include more variables and organisms to the equation. So right now, we're taking into account also the evolution of bacteria and also the influence of the different nutrients and how the nutrients that we have in excess, because when we grow microalgae in the reactor, that's microalgae, other nutrients are considered in excess because every day we are putting the nutrients inside the water. But with wastewater, all that nutrients came from the city, from the university, and we are not sure if we can provide enough nutrients to every organism. So we need to modify those growth rate to depend also on all those nutrients. Because bacteria and microalgae compare for some of them, especially nitrogen. Microalgae consumes ammonium to grow, but if we don't have ammonia in the reactor, start to consume nitrate. But nitrifying bacteria consume also ammonia to produce nitrate. So if we keep the reactor in an operating condition that it's good for bacteria, but bad for microalgae, bacteria start to consume all the ammonium, so microalgae can get that and start to decrease. We will see that in the simulator. And the last one, the engineering model, describe all the physical phenomena and mass balance. Because if we take as an example this base, we can add water with nutrient to increase the level, the culture depth. We can harvest the reactor. We can inject air, inject carbon dioxide. All that physical phenomena modify the value of the concentration of the different elements inside that. Also, microalgae with its the photosynthesis process and with the decay can modify the elements inside the reactor. It's not an equilibrium. So how can we model all that variation? Volume is very easy, but with microalgae concentration, it depends on growth rate, the decay, and the water we are adding. If we as we will see at the end, if other organisms interfere in the system, will modify that evolution. Also, we are modeling the oxygen that depends on the input from the water, the consumption, the production of oxygen with the photosynthesis, the consumption of oxygen from respiration, and the exchange with the atmosphere. Because in an open reactor, oxygen is constantly exchanging the concentration with atmosphere. But in a ratio very low in comparison with microalgae generation. And the last one, the total inorganic carbon system, describe the evolution of carbonates inside the reactor and pH. It's also similar to oxygen, but in the opposite. Microalgae consume the carbon dioxide and during the night produce carbon dioxide. There is also an exchange with the atmosphere, and if we inject carbon dioxide in the sun, it's also an inlet that increases the total carbon system. But if we take, as earlier, if we take now bacteria into the reactor to process wastewater, we need to add the evolution of other elements. As the evolution of bacteria that is more than the same as microalgae, but with different growth conditions. The oxygen that now is consumed by bacteria, and it's a very visual when you are measuring the oxygen in the reactor. If you have both reactor with just the microalgae and with the wastewater during the night, you can see the differences due to the oxygen consumption from bacteria. And also, we have the evolution of phosphate, ammonium, and nitrate. So we have a model that can estimate all that parameters, but we need, very important, we need the description of every organism, the biological description. Because if you see here, the nitrate and the COD, biodegradable soluble organic matter, there are some parameters depending on growth of algae and bacteria that are unknown. It's like, for example, the soluble organic matter. How we can increase the soluble organic matter inside the reactor? Because we add wastewater, but also microalgae and bacteria are dying. So when they die, they add organic matter, but how much they are adding? But these are the yield that relates the organism death to that amount of organic matter, and we can't estimate that. We can estimate some of some parameters with the calibration of the model with real data, but it's better to measure all that yields the generation, the consumption of oxygen, nitrogen, carbon from bacteria and algae to keep the model updated. And we have seen the relation of the description of little model, a little base, but it is that model or all that equation related to the big industrial raceway reactor. For example, at the laboratory scale, we have good condition. We have an injection of air and carbon dioxide that is instantly we can show the evolution of the pH if we add the carbon dioxide. This is the same to the raceway reactor. In what? Oh, no. In general terms of growth, yes, but we have some other kind of influence that we need to take into account. For example, distance and the different parts of the reactor. The simple model that I have shown to you can be divided into 3 different parts for the raceway reactor. That is the sum, where the injection of gas is performed. This sum that is a hole in the ground, it can be considered a dark zone with no photosynthesis, but with a great exchange with gases. Also the loop, that is all the way that microalgae need to traverse until the paddle wheel. It's where photosynthesis is performed, but it doesn't have any injection, but has an exchange with the atmosphere, and also it has a delay. For control, for pH control, where we have for pH control, we inject carbon dioxide in the sum, but we measure the pH at the end of the reactor. What is the end of the reactor? Before paddle wheel. Why are controlling pH with carbon dioxide injection in the sum with measuring the end of the reactor? Because it's the critical point. If we just add a sensor here in the sum and start to add carbon dioxide, the pH will lower very fast, and we will say, okay, it's in a good point. Stop injecting carbon dioxide. But during all the way that microalgae need to traverse around the reactor, pH will increase a lot. So we are taking the last point of the reactor as the common point to control everything, because it has a delay that depends on liquid speed. So we can model these 3 different parts as 3 rectangles that are like volume that are totally mixed and connect one with each other. I don't know if you know Rebecca, that is a researcher here in IFAPA from a couple of years. She has made a validation of the complete wastewater model for during 215 days, and she has able to estimate not only algae concentration but also bacteria concentration. What this type of model it's important for? When you harvest a wastewater reactor, you have a mix of algae and bacteria. But how do you know how much is bacteria and how much is algae? It's very difficult to analyze. Also in the reactor, it's very difficult to analyze what is the concentration of bacteria. With this type of model, using the measurement of the sensor, we can more or less estimate how is the concentration in the reactor of algae and bacteria that produce that output. So it's like a virtual sensor, or it can be used as a virtual sensor of the concentration inside the reactor, the concentration of bacteria and algae. And also it can be used to estimate the evolution of nutrients. For example, here, why here there are a lot of nitrate? Because concentration of nitrifying bacteria is increasing a lot. So with the model, we can analyze what is going on inside the reactor, but just in case of all the parameters are in good tune. And at the end, the zoosporic influence, how that kind of organisms are affecting the reactor. They are fungal organisms that contaminate the reactor and can create a competence for the nutrient. So if we have nitrogen and phosphorus for algae, now this type of organism also consume that nutrients and start to compete for the feed. Or in the worst case, the organisms that consume the algae. It's not zoosporic, but during summer, here in Almeria, we have a problem with spirulina, that a kind of insect start to grow in the water and eat microalgae. It's a problem, and how we can model that? If we just use the sensor, if just we use the measuring of the sensor, we can compare the concentration of the model with the real one, because there are insects eating all the microalgae. So how we can add that influence into the model? The same as microalgae, as an organism that is growing inside, but also that is eating the microalgae, that is decreasing the concentration. So right now we are going to test the simulator with different parameters for a parasite that is eating microalgae.